microphones, that this is live stream, it's not a Zoom meeting. There is an agenda and the minutes. If you wish to get an agenda, George, you can even point that out if you could be other public people come in. And you're welcome to take minutes. We have plenty. We have talked with several people who are not able to come and have sent their reports. Gene Norris, I think it's hopefully it's coming, but I have a copy of her. But if she doesn't, I'll update you.
That's it.
No, no, I just- Yeah, well, that's what you need to come up with.
David, what time are you gonna sleep?
Here is,
Is that
Waiting on what night it is and what I'm watching.
Oh,
If I'm watching. Last night.
I just was curious what triggered you to stay up so late and then have to.
Figure out how-
You're just not a morning person. Right? I have a brother.
No,
like that.
I can be a morning person. I'm much more a morning person than Ann is.
I think
She has struggled. She's still working,
Yeah.
and I have to push her out of bed sometimes. Today's fine. She's supposed to be downstairs already working.
Okay,
All right.
may I have your attention, please?
What's on this?
That's us. David,
Hey,
thank you for coming.
well, wonders. Josh, I know you want me to move the mic. Wonders never cease. And I even had my agenda printed and minutes, which I have an amendment to. So no big deal
Well,
when we get to it.
you're a valuable member and you're welcome.
Well, I don't know about that, but
And we welcome the public that are here, and as we are welcoming others that may arrive, this has been a real busy day. Harrington Cox is our new member that is, well, she said I'm missing the second meeting again, but she did send a report. And so we have lots of interesting business and announcements. And so let's have a moment of reflection, please. You. A meeting goal that is not necessarily, obviously going to be achieved today because we're ending our 2022 year. And our entities and our Landcare projects, we're going to be looking at carefully and getting full reports. I'm hoping that they can be written because we have a history of many of our activities and things that have been going on. And the native plant sale, there's going to be some suggestions and also a report in December that I'm hoping that the two new co-chairs will be for the native plant sale in April. Good morning, Tracy.
come on in.
You want to take an agenda there? Thank you for coming. We are going to be reviewing our October minutes. And if you would like to have a reflection of any of those who may need to, if you've read them carefully, I'm sure you memorized most of them. Those minutes, David, you said you have.
Yeah,
had something.
Yeah, I'll just talk.
Can you hear it, Josh?
Josh can hear me. Hello, Josh. Madam Chair, one change in my hemlock restoration initiative conversation. I have not talked with Tom Green, who's head of HR in Nashville. So instead of saying he has talked, as in past tense, which I have, but not about this, just say can talk. Major change.
Thank you. I like those kind of changes. Jason?
Come up here, Jason.
Hello, Jason.
Oh, discussion of our minutes. Again, we want to thank Meredith for the thoroughness of her minutes. What she does is listen to her recording, which I think we were able to do by phone this time. And then she sends them to me. And I have a secretary that I live with that loves to review and Meredith and Eric, he doesn't give her scores, but it's always close to the A+ time. And I really appreciate the thoroughness. As we have had quoted by other chairs of other committees, the minutes are a tool for us to reflect and to look back on, because it's important to know what we're doing and to have it open to any kind of discussion with the public at any time. So, are there any other corrections or additions? Hearing none. Is there a motion? And don't need a second. All in favor, please say aye. Thank you. Okay. The agenda today, I need to have one correction or an addition to it. We have with us Beth Fountain, who is the chair of the committee that I represent as an entity of one of the 8 of the Montreat Cottagers Wilderness and Open Space. And that is under 9G on your agenda. Beth has some other obligations. If you would like me to move you up now, I would love for you to come to the front, or if you want to wait till we go through any other public comments or things, but. Okay. Would it be okay with the board to have Beth come right now then? And then you can get to your other schedules. Beth Fountain, yeah. Just make sure that.
Hello, am I on?
You are.
Okay. So as Gracie mentioned, I do chair the Wilderness and Open Space Committee for the Cottagers. If you were at the Cottagers meeting this summer, you heard me give kind of a brief history of this group. One of the major things one of the reasons we were formed was to originally, even before they were part of the Cottagers, was to buy the Rocky Knob Wilderness area, purchased with private funds in the 90s, mid-90s. This was turned over to the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy for conservation easement. We are still owners. We as cottagers are still owners of that particular property. Every year there is an annual inspection of it from the Southern Appalachian Highlands Conservancy. I'm gonna call them SACs from here on, to make sure that this is not developed land, that it's still in its original state, which is very primitive and undeveloped. That inspection was done. As a result of the committee, the Wilderness and Open Space Committee of the Cottagers, as a result of their request, I had, on that particular hike, I approached the representative from Saks, to see if they would be interested in not purchasing or having or owning that property, taking that responsibility out of the cottagers. It is the feel of this committee that the cottagers really should not be in the business of owning. So I had a long conversation with the person, her name is Sarah, on this hike, and we came up with 3 alternatives. They are interested, and whereas early on they were unable to own property, the things in their entity have changed so that they can take ownership of the property. That could happen in one of 3 ways. Number one is we as the cottagers could just donate that to them. That would be the simplest and easiest, and just something that really might work very, very efficiently. Number 2, they could go and find people to help them purchase it. They could raise the revenue and purchase it from the cottagers. That would be long, slow, more arduous if that was part of it. I think one of the issues is there's never been a very clean survey. Nobody can find a good survey of this land. And it's very few people who know how to find the corners of this rectangular plot. The third option would be 4, and this one is the most complicated. So I'm going from simplest to most complicated. The third option would be 4, us to give it or have it sold to the Parkway. However, at this point in time, the Blue Ridge Parkway is unable to have this property because it's not contiguous with their property. There is Parkway property moving towards Montreat, Parkway property, Bear Hunter property. So the Mount Mitchell Bear Hunters Club owns a large section in there. The third section in belongs to the Pisgah National Forest, and they feel like that would be an easy transition. And then our Rocky Knob Wilderness area. So the tricky part in that would be to get the bear hunters who are not likely to want to put their land in conservation easement. That would be tricky to get that done. That is probably not likely, but she did pose that as an option. If we were to have that property owned by the Southern Appalachian Islands Conservancy sites, that would not affect anybody in Montreat as far as hiking and accessibility. If you're a hiker, and O'Neill was a big hiker, I did the Mitchell hike with him several times, but if you're a hiker, we still would have access to that. In the original conservancy agreement, the bear hunters are allowed to hunt on that property. So that is something that's kind of interest. And we are moving forward, with talking with them. I have another meeting next week with the committee, and I'm going to throw this out to the committee and let them decide what we would like to do. In addition, we outlined 5 goals for our committee when we kind of reorganized in September. One of our goals is to work with other groups within Montreat and outside of Montreat, and just see how we can do a better job of putting lands in protection in conservancy so that they are not developed. And one of the things that we have taking as a next step is to work with Mariah Whitehead, who is the daughter of Alva and Ida Whitehead, who have a home, I believe, off South Carolina. And Mariah is a PhD in, I believe, biology, but her job is with the Open Space Institute. And she is in charge of land acquisition and conservation and preservation of wildlife and land for the Southeast. It's a New York firm, and she is going to meet with us next week. So that is just, I throw that out to you as somebody that you might be hearing about, that may be able to provide resources from her seemingly well-funded organization, and it may be somebody that y'all want to connect with also. Anyway, does that cover everything you wanted?
Yes, and I appreciate, particularly Beth has come on as this new chair, because when I joined it as the Montreat Wilderness and Open Space, as you see, I'm always down there with 9G. It was a dormant committee. And so the revising of this particular committee has been very important, just as I see that the Wilderness Committee from the Conference Center, because of these original 8 entities, it was a very important part of the beginning of what was a wilderness committee here in Montreat. I happened to have the Montreat Cottagers a day of celebration when they met it on July 20th, 1991. And you may have seen throughout your times the beautiful rendering of a photograph that was taken up on Rocky Knob. That was the the original, of that painting, watercolor, I'm assuming it's watercolor,
It is, yeah.
is over at the
Highland Farms
Highland
and the
Farms.
Lodge. Yeah.
Mhm, yes.
So,
And I have the photograph. I've been trying to get the original, but it was Peter Boggs Printing Company that did it, and they do not have the original. But the Permanent Wilderness Committee was the ones that developed and met with the bear hunters, because it was them that owned it, and we bought it from them, giving them. That's not true.
it was owned by an individual, and I cannot come up with his name at this point, but we were, the bear hunters
Were given.
we felt like we're gonna try to purchase that too. But the
Oh.
big thing was we really wanted to keep it in a conservation easement at that
But
point.
give them the right in hunting, bear hunting season to use that. Marking them, yeah. But the permanent people that were on this from the class of 1992, Les McLean and Annie Hodgkin. My father-in-law, John Nichols and Mary Purvis, John McWalker and Jane Bell, Wade Boggs Senior and Jane Holt, Phil Reinhardt and Don McDougal. And then treasurers were then Gene Crook and Jim Crook. Big feet that were walking and getting our conservation areas, along with Jane Holt's wilderness book. She refers to this purchase if you have that book. Any questions or thoughts from the board, David?
Yeah, yeah. Too early in the morning.
It's okay.
This is the Mount Mitchell Bear Club, I think.
Mount Mitchell Bear Hunters Club. Yes.
And also, what is the lady's name who is part of your, that's what's her name?
Mariah, which is spelled Maria, Maria, Whitehead.
Whitehead?
Whitehead.
Mhm.
She may be a contemporary of Richard DeBose. I'm not sure of the ages of.
I haven't met her. I've talked to her on the phone for about an hour. She does have young children, if that helps bracket her age. So I would say 40s. Yeah.
I think Richard's older.
Oh, she's a baby.
Thank you.
She's a baby.
Beth,
Okay.
one more question. How
Sure,
big is the
thanks, Ed.
property? I'm not familiar, I'm the newbie with Montreal.
Thank you.
How big is Rocky Knob?
I
the
deliberately left that out because I'm unsure, but I believe,
Well-
and you might be able to help me, Jason, but I think it's 1,200 acres or something like that. It is a big
Is
rectangle.
it,
I'll
is-
get that to you if you would like.
no, no, just approximation. I just wanted to know what type of area we're talking about. And it is attached to Montreal, not EPJ.
Correct. Well,
No,
It
it's not
butts-
attached to mine.
no, it's
Okay,
up
okay, so
against
it's
Graybeard
So
property.
you have Graybeard, it dips down, you have Rocky Knob, it dips down, you have Pinnacle, you have Parkway, and you get up towards Mitchell. So it's that next one past Graybeard. So,
Yeah, so it's attached to the Graybeard area. So there's a trail from, yeah, like Jason's had, it starts, you can start off the top of Graybeard and go across Rocky Knob 1 and 2, and then Pinnacle, and then you hit the Parkway.
has there been any attempt to find the value in the land?
With the one thing, no, is the real answer to that. Sarah said if we did have it, purchased, the value of it, because we have it in a conservation easement, is less than if it were developable, if that's a word.
Right.
And then the fact that we have the contingency that the bear hunters can do that devalues it a little bit more. So, but it's gorgeous land. One other thing I might throw in as we think about it, is that Jane Holt, can't remember the year, when we were having the 100th celebration, maybe 98. We had a whole lot of different programs to celebrate the 100th celebration of Montreat. She did a beautiful presentation on the importance of having contiguous lands for the continuing development and health of both flora and fauna. And that if the land is disrupted, then it's broken, and then there's smaller DNA pool and there's not as much crossbreeding. So and this is one of the most important and vital areas on the eastern seaboard. It has a lot of diversity because of the various elevations. I've done a lot of the hikes with the museum, and they talked at length about how we have the plant life of from here all the way to Maine. It is just a huge diversity of plant life and how valuable this particular corridor is. So that excited me, and I hope to keep protecting it.
Perfect person to be the chair of this, a new chair for this.
So that's doing the
Yeah.
cottagers years ago. on
Yes,
space money.
It was actually purchased by a private group of the committee that Gracie just read the names for.
Oh, okay.
But shortly thereafter, they turned it over to the cottagers and the committee that I'm on to manage it. So since then, it's been part of the cottagers organization.
And the
and-
cottagers do stuff like that, inspections.
there's a
The
treasurer.
inspection is no charge. The only cost it is to us is about a $300 a year liability insurance policy that we have paid. So we have a lot of documents that Philip Arnold is our treasurer and has been for a long time and knows a lot of history on this, but he has just closed out the lockbox at the bank and moved all the records to the Heritage Center and put them in the safe there. So if anybody needs to know where that is, that's where it is. Good. There is some funds in our budget. There are funds that are a little bit left over from that original purchase. And also when we did the Hemlock, I think that my understanding, and hear that as a soft statement, understanding is that the people that were working on the Hemlocks, when we raised money for the ladybugs, that money was also placed under our budget, and there's a little bit left from that, not much, but a little bit left from that.
Interesting history. This is what we like. Interesting history.
It is, yes,
thank-
it is. So, any other questions, comments, sarcastic remarks?
We're glad Jason can clarify our boundaries and.
Yeah, yeah, and one of the things that Martha Todd Sloan brought up when we were in the cottagers board meeting was how much that the MRA Wilderness Group is doing now. Be working in conjunction with them, and that is very consistent with the motives and the purpose of this group. One of our goals was to reach out to other folks in the community, and so our first step was to spend time with Mariah Whitehead, which we
Yeah.
will do on Tuesday. Yes.
And that will be recorded. No, we'll just get a
It's gonna
good
be on
report back.
Zoom. I guess I could change the setting so that we could record it if you would like.
Well, that would be wonderful for our purposes, for those who would like to see it from afar. If they don't go to the meeting, just even her portion would be fine.
That would be good.
Okay.
If you'd want another resource on Mariah, the way I introduced myself to her was that Alva gave me a podcast. It's sort of a podcast. It's an interview with South Carolina Public Radio. And there was a guy who interviews different people every week, Edgar something. And I can get that to you. But he interviewed her for an hour, and I've listened, and a lot of folks on the committee listened to her describing what she does and what her organization does. So there's a good background podcast, and I can get that to you if you're interested. Great, thank you.
It also occurs to me for those who don't know where it is, our trail map is color coded, our new one. And Rocky Knob, it's not completely on the map, but it's that greenish square at the very top.
It's proper to have any questions even from our audience. That's right. Will you want to come and ask? Yes, you're a tree board, but you don't like, okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Bye. Bye, Brad.
Sorry. Brad Hester,
Yeah, Brad.
tree board
Hester.
chair.
So understanding that the goal here is the preservation of the land and the environment that's there, it makes me a little nervous when a property gets passed from hand to hand and people are not necessarily appraised of the goals? I mean, I know, understand that it's a conservancy situation. My question is, how locked down is that? You know?
When we put it in the conservation easement, that is in perpetuity. There is no way that it can be reverted back. This is the group that we set it up with. The conservancy, we set it up to be in a conservation easement forever. So this would be the group that has been managing it, and you're just seeing if they can possibly own it so that the cottagers can be. But I have, actually, Mariah did talk to me about her great appreciation for the Southern Appalachian Conservancy and was very complimentary of them. I also heard enough from Sarah on the hike about how they're growing and how much land acquisition they're incurring at this time for me to feel that that particular organization is very healthy and very stable. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, I think maintaining some ability to know what's going on with the property over time, I think it can be in the interest of the original goals.
Good point. Any other comments? Jason?
Just as a point of interest, Brad, the Southern Appalachian Highland Conservancy are the same folks who manage our conservation easement for the wilderness area in Montreat for
Okay.
all the trails and things.
Good to know.
So we've, you know, worked with them for many, many years.
Thank you. Oh, great. Now we are all clear. My purpose of moving Beth along, I wanted to address if Martha Sloan needs to have any, I'd be happy along with looking at the Wilderness Committee of the MRA. If you wish to come and speak, or if you wish to make a comment, we can move you up as well, since I know you're very busy. Okay. Oh. Thank you. Okay, excellent. All right, then we'll get back up to our Roman numeral 4 on agenda. Beth, thank you so much, and I look forward to. And we'll see you Tuesday. I'll see you Tuesday. Yeah, I'm on that committee. The financial report status is still one where the financial officer has resigned and reports are unavailable in the sense of that layering of getting down to the 4 accounts that we have. So I am keeping the tally. I was told I need to be like a bookkeeper myself, which I do, but it's always interesting to see when we are getting our contributions. My concern has always been if money is given, not necessarily to the accessible trail, but sometimes people give to Landcare because of our mission. And there is a Nancy Hope, which is more than Nancy Hope's contributions that were given at her memorial service. It was in her obituary that the Landcare Committee would, she wishes to any monies to be sent there or to the conference center. But I'm trying to work very carefully, knowing that in our bylaws, which I'm going to talk about next month, our relationship is with the town, that we are the Landcare team. Financial matters includes fundraising, grant applications, and other income and expenditures. And this is already approved and conducted by the Montreat Landcare Committee through the administrative offices of the town of Montreat. So I've had questions about whether or not that particular area of fundraising is appropriate for a town committee. And so I'm working through that with the audit people. Phil Barnell and Hugh Alexander have been very good in listening to my needs and concerns about having a town committee with monies in and out and purchasing and selling, that we need to be transparent, and we will continue to do so. And we're in hopes that the town, I know their hands are tied and it is what it is. And I'm just wanted you to be aware of why we're not getting a report. Only a financial advisor can send out that type of report. Any public comments on number 5 from our audience? Okay, environmental concerns continue as we have stormwater runoff, the health of Flat Creek watershed, and the leaf collection is coming up, and I know that perhaps within our Firewise report, we might have some comments about leaves. But when we get to that, that'd be great, but continuing talks with, in fact, I've been playing, not phone tag, but I haven't been able to speak to Bill, Seaman. He and I are still in wanting to be in conversation. And that leads us to, my chair comments. I'm very happy that I have been able to get some of the the names of different agencies in our community that are wanting to support stormwater from Land of the Sky, as you know, with Mary Roderick. There are so many supporting of Stream Watch. So by the time that spring comes around, we're hoping that we will have a stream team or a Stream Watch so that we'll be able to not only, have good community involvement with cleaning our streams, but also, again, using our testing of the waters, so that we will have good quality for our kids and for adults to be playing in the streams at Robert Lake Park and of course at the swimming hole. And Meredith has been on that, and we've had a great team. And Bill is wanting this to be continued, and we do need to hand it off to a generation that likes to rock up in there. We're hoping it'll be a generation of those in the 40s and 50s age or 60s. We're aging out in the stream team. Now, just my comments. I wanted you to know that I've spoken to Maggie Ray. She has agreed to be chair of the nominating committee. She will be bringing forth a slate in December and an election in January of the Landcare team. There are 2-year terms. I'm finishing up this year as the second term, as well as Meredith Green as the 2 elected officers. Okay. Let's go on down because we're 9:30 point. This is a very important area of discussion that we'll have with Bill again, as I said, on Flat Creek watershed and the ETJ and continuation of those people. I keep hearing from people who want to be informed and are concerned about still the runoff of new construction everywhere. And at that point, I think a good discussion of that, and if I can get Bill to come with me to come to see me, and we have a chat with who we want to link up with. In particular, he thinks there are, as I said before, the Stream Watch group would be the best. We still have relationship with the Environmental Quality Institute, which is the funds that we were given by, well, we had a grant from them, and that's how the initial stream team continued to take care of the watershed and give the weekly or bi-monthly reports. And it's the sampling baskets. There's things that they gave us so that we could do a thorough job of looking at our stream and monitoring the samples and analyzing them. And so we're grateful to the EQI Institute. So those are the ones we would still want to be in partnership with. Meredith, is there anything with Firewise with leaf collections?
Yes. Okay. I actually leave that all to Nancy Midget. She sends out things through Montreat Minute, what to do with your leaves. And so I haven't really talked to her recently, but she said she's going to keep up with, the leaves are everywhere. So she's going to do that. We are doing 3 home assessments. David Neal's one of them up in his neighborhood for Firewise.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting, just to give them ideas about how to protect their home from fire.
Yeah, you get a 3 for.
A 3 for, I know, thank you. You get a commission for. Anyway, that's all I have.
Thank you. The Rain Gardens project in Pocket Park. I still have some observations that are being made by many people regarding the grounds around the town hall. the rain garden projects are from individual private people, and we are getting information for educational purpose for the fall and maybe even in the spring. Bless you. Regarding the extent of how to, which of course is helping out with any rainwater runoff. But right now, Bill Neely is my go-to person, and he and I I'm planning to address him again with his involvement with having tours of his particular place. Tracy, you've been there for your road scholars, and he does a wonderful job. And we may revisit him again. Any comments about Bill with his, or any other rain gardens that you have been able to observe or get knowledge of?
Right. The three main ones that the Gardens Group experience is Bill and Wanda's at their home, the one here at the town, and the one at the Arboretum. So that kind of gives them three different kinds of models of what a rain garden means, and its purpose and that kind of thing. And most folks have found it very interesting. They've not really thought about that concept. And so Bill shares his plans on how to build a rain garden. It's very detailed, and a lot of folks take that home with the thought that they're gonna put that into place.
Well, maybe we can expand him to a community a program to have for the Montreat residents as well. We don't want to crowd you up on your road scholar days, but I see them. I think it's one of the most outstanding programs that the conference center has with what you're doing, and thank you for always supporting Landcare with what you're doing, particularly at the native plants there. Okay, we'll get back to you in a minute. Now, the mayor's Monarch Pledge is on its way. I have the pledge ready to go. It's a digital. I do it online, and so I'm the one with the help of Angie Murphy. She sends me all of the mayor's Monarch Pledge literature through emails, and so that was due on December 1st. As you remember, Alice Litz performed the last one and got that moving, and then of course at the Arbor Day we had at the native plant sale we celebrated a mayor's Monarch Pledge along at the same time with the Arbor Day celebration from Tim Helms. Jim is stepping down from the National Wildlife Federation, and we will be, I'm conferring with some individuals who will be able to maybe take over the webinars and be reporting. This particular activity or project has been going on for many years, and it's taken on a lot of different directions. At one time, it used to be only one time or every 6 weeks, you would, as a member, be joined online and learning other community efforts and how they are not only having programs about your gardens or getting people certified, but projects like the Monarch Pledge or any other activity with the native plant sales. So it's reaching out to other communities and getting good ideas. In fact, this is where one of the reports that came back when Katie Whitmer was on the board with us. She was talking about selling nature cards. And so that particular idea resulted in our fundraising of those beautiful paintings of Jim Williamson. No report from the Children Outdoors, but I will tell you the continuation of her trying to repair the Jason, I don't know if it's any good or there are leaks still in the brochures.
Oh, yeah, the brochure boxes need to be replaced. The lids are broken or gone. I talked to Patty about that last time I saw her.
Yeah. She was thinking that maybe we would approach the Arboretum again because they were the ones that donated and gave us. So she'll be back in touch with, but thank you. It's the kiosk. It's the sign at the Nature Center.
Yeah, at the Moore
Houses.
Center, right at the bottom of the stairs going up to the Huckleberry in the store. Well, yeah, there's a number of brochure things that have lids that have, that, open the lid, grab a thing and the lids are gone.
We don't think the Bears have had them. I think there was some extra activity there. The fundraising of our nature prints and cards, I want to particularly thank Jim and Peggy Williamson in the recent months of trying to also add to the supplies that we're doing through the precision printing of the prints at Precision Graphics, and then Blackbird frames and doing the matting in Asheville. Leith, as you remember, at the native plant sale, she and Jim almost sold everything. It was an amazing,
Quite a bit at the,
cottagers.
yes.
Yeah, in July. So we ran out of nature cards. So we are now in the process of introducing the new prints. So Jim, you want to start talking about anything you want to comment about when and how we're going to proceed with Blackbird? You want to show them? Oh,
Well, there's not a great deal to report. It's just the same process we went through before. We have additional prints made of the paintings. How many are there now, Grace?
There are 10, we sold out of the, Walk Jones Wildlife Sanctuary, and we got those reprinted. And then, we still have one of the Monterey Gate, but the ones that we're going to have matted are the new one, and here is a new print of First Light. And it is a gorgeous, well, first of all, I thought he had taken a photograph, but he did not. He was drawing it. But this is the assembly in, and so this is the brand new one that we have nature cards for as well as the prints that are going to be made. Jim, I think it was last time that George or someone mentioned that they remember standing over by the Howerton was Hal Demarest, and how you were inspired by knowing that when the sun comes over the mountains in the morning, you have that light of the sun. That's the sunrise, and it projects the beautiful building of Assembly Inn. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that how you did it?
It's got a head of the spot, make it more like a Scottish castle.
Well, it is also something I thought it might be appropriate if we ever want to donate up any of the frames. And if Assembly Inn would ever like to have that particular one in their building. So I don't know how you run that by when you're getting people to. So how would you do that, Tracy, if we wish to donate one to the Assembly Inn or to the conference center?
Oh, I'll be glad to talk to Emily about it. I don't think that would be a problem. I'm wondering, particularly that print, next week we have Legacy of the Scotch Irish program. And that might be of particular interest to folks who are attending that program.
So we could even have a table there to sell the prints? Is that what you're asking?
I
Sam?
believe so. I'd have to check and make sure.
I don't know if the matting can be done that quickly, but
Okay. Well, we have that program. We'll have it 4 times. We'll have it 4 times next year, so we can figure that out.
Yeah, we're having a hard time thinking about a tent at the post office trying to sell in this kind of weather in the fall and winter. So that would be wonderful for you to inquire, Tracy, and maybe we'll talk to Peggy and to Lee, our sellers. Thank you. All right. Next month, Patty told me this morning, there are a lot of things going on with our steering committee with Will Jones being the chair. And they have, we're going to be having a conference call regarding accessible trail. We're working still with April Carter. She she and George, and maybe George, if you want to make any comment about our visit with April. It's just that we sat with her for a full hour and a half at her place. Any comments you want to make, George, about April's thoughts on the design? Yeah, and maybe by next December, we can bring a sketch. She's introducing this concept of designing what we would call a quote welcome center, which is where the drop off would be at the front of this accessible trail. As you move into the garden, the memorial garden as you know, to the right, there's an area that can be a drop off, and she's looking at not a shed, but not an arch one cover, but it's going to have 2 stone benches, and it is going to be compatible with the visual of seeing how beautiful the memorial garden entrance is. And so that is in the works, and we had the approval of having, of course, the ADA parking across from there so that you can have vans drop off and then pull over for handicap parking spaces. But she is very excited. We're more concerned with trying to get what hours that George Sawyer and team, may have to call him the chief of our cleanup team, because we have had many bags of invasive plants, poison ivy, all of the areas, and even chopping down some old trees. And George is eagle eye, knowing what is what, and being a botanist and knowing everything about plants. We have been making great strides with this accessible trail cleanup. What we need is a backhoe and some efforts there. And so we're trying to work around with Barry Priestman and see if we can get rid of all those items, right, George? He's going into Asheville to take care of our matting, so we will dismiss. Thank you, Jim. The hemlock restoration, David, we keep putting you on. We don't want to have you leave us, but we understand why you would leave us.
Well, part of that is I did meet, we met with Brad's team, 2-3 weeks ago, I guess.
The tree board. Mhm.
Right, tree board, and had a conversation with Maggie Ray, who was starting, I don't know, would you call it a subcommittee? Brad, is that a correct term for her little group that she's trying to consolidate all these people and get them in one place?
Mhm.
She are doing. So, that's to be continued. We'll see where that goes. I'll still continue to plan on coming to tree board with your approval. And just try to stay informed with where that group goes. Maybe as a handoff for hemlock, maybe not.
Yeah. That project of the hemlock restoration was, many years ago, almost 20, where they did not have any type of safe pesticide or any type of chemicals that could preserve and so we got into an expensive program, did some fundraising, then we got the beetles. But right now, it's just like other land care projects and activities. You can move off and fade away. And since a hemlock is a tree, and there are still hemlocks along the town's right of ways, many of them, we thought it'd be appropriate for them to be here. Be a part of tree board. It would not have to be a formal committee, but Brad and I, and we're still in that discussion of using the HRI, the Hemlock Restoration Institute. Okay. Oh, comment, Brad?
I'm Brad Hester, speaking for the tree board now. There doesn't exist a separate committee or anything, just so we don't have any confused expectations there. Maggie did us a good service and helping pull together a lot of the issues that are involved in that, and has done a good job in moving us all together in the direction of, I think, a goal that we all kind of share. One thing that's really clear in the conversation is, on the tree board is Montreat trees. That's its its reason for being. And Montreat, the town of Montreat. The thing is that trees are on all of our properties, and that involves all the different entities that are members of the land. Yeah, MRA and college and all of you. So the one issue that we have is how to move to I think would be a better focus and not lose the advantage of the diversity of this group. And I think there needs to be in this discussion the involvement of the different entities. So we need to have at least one event that has representatives from the different entities that have an interest in this question of the trees. And I'd like to invite, the people, if you represent one of the entities, to prepare to come to a tree board meeting or a special meeting set up by the tree board so that we can have this conversation about how to move ahead with the concepts that are happening. So I'm passing the football back to you in the sense, and
Sure.
I'm not trying to
Oh, I've
pass
got
it
that.
off,
Yeah.
but I'd like to have some input from this group about how you might be able to participate in it.
Well, we'd be happy to sponsor it, to have it, a co-sponsorship with it. I know in particular, the reason why it came back to the Hemlocks is that David had a call from, I don't know if it was Tanner, but someone wanted to know how with the treatment, how the, what's it, what status of the, and then what is the town doing to preserve the Hemlocks? And so that's where we look at the fact that you've got, a grounds crew at conference centers. We have, the college has a, grounds crew, and then of course, obviously Barry and company here at the town. So it is more of it's the same thing with invasive plants. It's the same concept of getting these workers and their overlapping of our lands on the same page, or at least have those people talking and sharing the treatments of trees as well as others. Is that a way to put it, David?
That is, again, everything is so silent, as Lord Allen, that there is no coordination. And I think, the conversation that I heard with Maggie at the tree board meeting was a step towards saying, okay, we don't necessarily have to own all of these things, but we do have a way of funneling them together or having a group that has some responsibility. Right now, you've already identified all the different groups, the MRA, the college, homeowners, as far as that goes.
Yeah.
We need to find a way so that we can help answer the questions we get about who's doing hemlock. Well, at this moment, nobody. Nobody's designated.
And it's because it's being passed down to it educational
Right.
terms that we don't need that heavier focus with, vine beetles, or we can treat our hemlocks just like you can treat your other issues of. But thank you, Brad.
So yeah, so
Well-
it occurred to me that it goes beyond just the hemlocks
Exactly.
to invasive species and stuff like
Right.
that. So one question is, do we want to maintain the focus on hemlock and resolve that question, or should we say, let's have a involvement around all of these shared concerns that we have, and have some sort of convening meeting that would do that. So that's the question that's sort of hanging there.
Yeah, and that's one that's been hanging around for a few
Mhm.
months. Even with looking at how we as a Landcare, if we have programs for an encouragement of invasive plants, if we give people education about it, we do need to have on board those people who own property that is not private homeowners. It's the conference center and the college.
Okay.
And the town. The town has a lot of invasive areas, particularly along Black Creek. and along, and as we found out at the Cesspool Trail, that town is all town property. And this, by the way, is the very first trail that just the town owns. It's all on town property. So this is the very first trail. We are always excited to report to anyone about the other trails in our wilderness, that it is the conference center that is the host and are opening their private lands to the public. And there are some ramifications of doing that. And I think that's when we're going to hear from the Wilderness Committee, the status of how we're trying to get the trails moving. So thank you.
So just for the record, I'd be very happy for a tree board to take this on, but I think clarification on exactly what we're trying to do is needed. So,
Okay, why don't we report back after we have, I know you wanted to have us meet next week and discuss that, and Maggie will be invited to come back to see us if we want, and or Brad. But we're making good headway. Tree board is on its way. Thank you, Brad. All right. Just to tell you that the Montreat College update, I have not heard from Dottie or Josh today or this week. We do have the mountain retreat with Tracy and Jason. And Jason, you can even jump in and take care of anything in wilderness from H to if you and Tracy wish to report. We can cover even your, if there's any update of any mail Montreat Trail Club too. So who would like to go first? You want to say anything first, Tracy? I'll defer to Jason. Okay.
Well, the Montreat Trail Club is dormant essentially, so that's nothing there. The Wilderness Committee and Martha can help me if I forget things. Has met, I don't know, half a dozen times since last fall. And we kind of divided some of those folks into focus groups. And we're looking at everything from, how do we have better signage to direct people where to go when they show up? Because only a couple of our trails, for example, tell you the name of the trail, where the trail starts in English letters. So, and then, some of that sort of thing. From everything from signs to looking at some of the parking issues and what can be done or not done, or could be done with a massive, lift, on various things. What else we have? We applied for a grant to have an outside trail building group come in and do an assessment. We did not get that grant, so that's now off the on the back burner now. Let's see.
I remember, and I've been thanking Tanner and Jason. I was able to get the minutes of the last three months. I attended the very first one back in the spring or summer. But I was trying to bring up the email, but I have a Safari problem. But the names, do you have those names of the committee? David Evans is the chair.
Sure. David Evans, Campbell Tucker, Elizabeth Bridges, Mary Frances Garner, myself, Tanner Pickett, Martha, and then Perrin Wright, Josh Holbrook. I don't think I forgot anyone.
Thank you. That's
So,
and we as a Landcare had also discussed, and Jim was here last month, the concern we have of maybe, as in other places, charging, and that was at a discussion at that Montreat Wilderness initial meeting. And from what I recall, there is something that you're having on signages, so you have a QR. So if people, this is a possibility of.
yeah, that's being worked on with Seth, I believe. That
Revenue strategy.
what she said, so she doesn't have to get up and come to the microphone, is that we are working on revenue strategies, and that can be everything. I think the low hanging fruit is voluntary, where you say, hey, if you're using the trails, you like them, let's, throw a few bucks at it. And then from there you start getting into the other things, whether that's parking passes or backcountry permits or things like that. So that's kind of one of the big things talking about. Obviously, no one here should be surprised to learn that the people who do actually pay something, which is our conferees, are not the people who come use it most.
Good point. Martha, did you want to add anything? No, that's well, I would like to draw attention to our discussion from our minutes, which I don't know if you're aware. It was Brad that suggested that the Montreat Conference Center develop a means to collect a fee from hikers by a sticker on their car or give a card permitting them to be in the area. That was just a discussion we had. But here is the amazing thing that Leith reported. She stated that to hike at Christmont or at Ridgecrest, all hikers must purchase a pass. And then if they do not want to pay, a map of Montreat trails is handed to them. That was very. Now, Jason or Josh could talk with those two retreat centers to find out how they handle hikers. So I
That's
don't know if
actually on our list as well, is to get together with a number of people, including folks from Ridgecrest and Christmont, and then actually someone from the Forestry Service as well. So we've got a few people on our slate to meet with.
And that's when I did reach out to Tanner, and I greatly appreciate that he's sending me those minutes. So if there's any items, if I know your schedule's thin with trying to get to Landcare, and I know that Martha's been very supportive of listening to our concerns. But if there's ever any kind of written report or anything that you want to communicate, that we would be of any help, because we were concerned about how the trails are being kept up. And the biggest, I think, connection we have now is with Jason McDougall, which is the grandson of Don McDougall. And so it kind of this circle of coming around with the trails, and he has a vision of linking all the trails so that even with our little accessible trail, phase 1 with all persons, that's going to be linking up. And he thinks even from the greenways and the spacing with Black Mountain and working with them, that we are going to be connected with a trail to come, and you can walk and hike from Black Mountain to Montreat. So it's all the big picture of looking at how the trails are constructed, and the legend ones that we have were not done in the way that, as I've said maybe before, he said they're always going to have maintenance, because we now have equipment. We know how to analyze where the trail should be. And so we do have old trails that are always going to have to be repaired, and they can't be because of the way of the
Sure.
topography.
Yeah, that's very true. And things like Lookout, probably shouldn't exist today. However, if you took it away in the name of conservation, I think I'd be crucified out here.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't want to do that. But I think if you have any concerns, putting them in writing so we have a documentation of it is absolutely the most helpful thing, because a lot of what I feel like the Wilderness Committee and just in general has been happening is there's a lot of hearsay and anecdotal things. So I heard of this happened, and I was at Ridgecrest. I heard that you get a trail map at Ridgecrest if you they send you up to Montreat, or I hear this or that. And so having that aggregated in one place eventually, more data is never a bad thing, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. That's excellent, Jason. I'm so glad. I mean, yeah, Jason, I'm so glad you're here. I'm sorry, Josh. I know that Joshua is a valuable member of that committee as well. And I look forward to any other comments related to the trails from the tree board or from the Wilderness Committee to come forth. And that brings us, and I know we're going a little over because we started a little late. We were having so much fun. Let's see, the college mountain retreat, we got that. The Earth Ministry, Hal he does have a certification that that we are on the church grounds or around the Allen building is now registered under the National Certification of Wildlife Gardens. And we now know that we're actually down to the adjournment, but I need to know if there's any other questions or comments concerning anything related to conference center. Tracy?
I think that when I came in, you all were talking about the native plant sale. Has there been a chair appointed for that?
And Jean, would you like to announce them? It's Betty Douglas and her husband Andy, and the Penders, Sherry and William. And one comment about their dates, they're gonna, this is so funny. They're trying to work around a golf tournament that they both go to in April. So they're wanting to meet with us very soon. And Betty, father was Harry Jones. No, Phillips, excuse me, Harry Phillips. Too many Harrys. And she said, my father loved walking down to his house to go from the post office area where their house is. He went every year there was a native plant sale. I'm doing this because of my dad. So that's exciting, and it will be announced whether it's always around Earth Day, North Carolina celebration of the Arbor Day. It might be separate, but it's a very important one. She needs to have support from Mason and Amy and Hugh and Jane Alexander, who have always been the setting up crew, because neither one of these couples have been to a native plant sale, but they have now are permanent residents of Montreat. Rusty Douglas.
I would like to add two things. One is I do not believe there is a reserved date, and that should probably be done sooner rather than later because it's a big commitment of grounds and personnel to support that event from the Mountain Retreat Association. And the second thing is that it's actually not too early to be doing initial contacts with potential vendors. So the time is kind of now.
We had tried to even when Jean and I, and I have to laugh, Jean and I became attached at the hip for several weeks there. And when we had the sale, and then we didn't see each other or talk, but we wanted to have the Penders and the Douglases involved with the four of us. So I'm wanting to line that up. And Tracy, if you have any dates that you said, no way, Jose, for Moore Center in April. Thank you for reminding me of that. I appreciate it. You have to realize the Montreat Conference Center, a gift for this community, the grounds of the sale, the people setting up the tables, Heather with the microphones, and I mean there is and name tags. Tracy and company and the conference center gives that is if we were an outside group and coming in, we would have I don't know what the bill would be, but if there is a gift in kind name, a number, we often like to tell people that the conference center gives to this committee, and they give with their hearts very generously, as the town, as the college. Oh, Brad gets their award for the most comments.
Yeah, I'm sorry to delay things, but I just want to make this observation about that. As you come into Montreat, one of the things you pass is the sign that says Tree City USA.
Mhm.
We're members of the Arbor Day Foundation and Tree City USA. One of the four main requirements that Arbor Day has is that we have a Arbor Day
Mhm.
sometime during the year. And it has become attached to the plant sale.
Mhm.
It occurs to me that if we're thinking about separating them out, and I think there's arguments both ways, but if we're going to do that, with everybody used to it all being said in one breath, plant sale and Arbor Day celebration, there's going to need to be some effort put into how to do that in a way that does not destroy the the Arbor Day side of things. And we need to have some thought given to how do we do a separate thing? And I just want to say that and
Yeah.
hope that we
Good
people
point.
commit that we really commit ourselves to making a good transition.
Excellent. Yeah. The planting of trees is generally in the fall, and I know at one time that's what we were trying to do over Labor Day when the COVID came up and we had the Chestnut Foundation coming and that cancellation, but there was the Arbor Day pledge, and I have that information.
Yeah, and just in case you're not aware, Arbor Day began as a tree planting event.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Kansas or Nebraska, somewhere like that. And so going back to tree planting as a focus is the natural for Arbor Day. But there's a lot of other things to think about.
Thank you, Brad. And let's see if there's any other, how much we're 10 minutes over, and I know Nick trying to, the Bearwise report. I'm going to attach it to the minutes because we are now, Arrington Cox is now the new member of our team under, as I put her down now, she's in the, where did I put her? Oh, J. I skipped over her in the activities. She's J, but she wants to come next month. We are providing, the council has adopted, as you know, new ordinance dealing with corrective disposal of garbage, feeding of bears, bear hunting, and bear dogs. And these ordinances are available, and they will be coming to you through. Wonderful job with as town commissioners and getting those ordinances. I've left the certification, how to be certified for being Bearwise. And this is what Arrington is going to be working with the Wildlife Commission to certify Montreat as a Bearwise community. We, of course, achieving and maintaining this certified status carries a commitment from the town to protect both the bears and our people, to coexist responsibly with our bears by securing food sources and to know when and how to report bear activity. And this is going to be in the near future. This is the beginning of bear hunting. And if you remember around the holidays and the new year, we had major issues in the town regarding dogs that were off their leashes. There are cameras going to be, I think they're already up. We know everyone that comes in now. Is that right? Yeah. So we get, if you want to tell your husband how many, or your spouse, how many times you've been in and out of the gate, you can ask the town to tell you. And even if you go around the gate. So there's a lot more we're going to talk about with that next month in December. But it's exciting that we are looking at, and Arrington is devoted to the wildlife. And she's very concerned about her bears. She has a bear in her front yard. We found out it wasn't a black bear. It was a grizzly. So now she's having to try to alter her 4-foot bear that she moves around on her property up on Virginia Road. So she is one character to take over something like this. So I'm sorry she was not here because she would have been very entertained. Thank you. Any other comments?
Your next meeting should be set up.
Oh, I always make that mistake.
Yeah, so that you want to meet on Friday.
No. And see, every time this, and I can't blame Eric because he formats these and go. It's Wednesday,
So,
I have the 7th down here. Oh, I hope that's right.
well,
Well, you can be here in 2023.
well,
All right. We don't know anybody that's going to be here. All right. Okay, it is the 7th, right? Thank you, Lee. Okay. The creation of 1,000 forests is in 1 acorn. Is that heavy for you? Too heavy? It's not a funny thing that's our nature insight. The creation of 1,000 forests is in 1 acorn. That's amazing. Okay, take that wisdom with you and enjoy the rest of your day. A big applause for Josh Green. notice how he's putting out big signs and he goes and puts on table where to stand. And I think you're doing a fabulous job for all of us that meet down here at the town.